Well, it looks like the orange man just made a huge deal. Huge. And the ramifications have seven-figure Bitcoin written all over it. Oh, and would you look at that? It looks like David Bailey and the orange man have been getting pretty cozy and in a big way. This, my friends, well, it's not priced in yet. Let's take a look at Trump's post on Truth Social. Vote for Trump. Bitcoin mining may be our last line of defense against a CBDC. Biden's hatred of Bitcoin only helps China, Russia, and the radical communist left. We want all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the USA. It will help us be energy dominant. Yes, that was not a misprint. Trump wants Bitcoin made in the USA after hosting many mining industry heads. You see that Overton window over there? It just got obliterated. Do you know what all this means? Are you ready for the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
David Bailey nails it. What's happening right now with Bitcoin and Trump isn't just the transformation of America's Bitcoin regulatory regime. It's the end state of the current world order and the beginning of a new one. What's happening right now will be remembered for hundreds of years. This is a turning point. We are heading into a worldwide domino effect with nation-state Bitcoin adoption. You might want to prepare accordingly.
Party, that party. Come and have a good time with G.O.D.
Welcome back to the most bullish Bitcoin-only show on the planet. I am your chief propagandist, Rustin. Let's get it started with this from Samson Mao. Many people don't seem to understand the importance of Trump embracing Bitcoin. This isn't a partisan thing or even about whether promises will be kept. This is a shift in discourse that precedes nation-state competition to achieve Bitcoin dominance. This move from Trump will be discussed behind closed doors by governments around the world. Mainstream media news outlets are already talking about it. We saw ICBC in China embrace Bitcoin yesterday. This is going to push everything ahead even more. And what are we pushing ahead, ladies and gentlemen? Well, hyper-Bitcoinization. And this is all just fuel to the bullish Bitcoin fire. I mean, if you remember our last episode, the largest countries around the world are rapidly ditching the US dollar. The balloon is being inflated and now the release valve is being closed off. So, what happens next?
Without the ability to export dollars, that would mean bad things. Let me show you an analogy using a balloon, because this is the US economy in its normal state. And whenever there's a problem, we can just pump the balloon full of money to solve the problem, which also creates inflation, and it looks like this. Now, if I pump this balloon with enough inflation, eventually those rising prices would cause the economy to break because consumers wouldn't be able to afford anything. So eventually, with enough air, with enough money, the economy would break. Now, lucky for us, we have an exit valve right here. That means we can release the pressure and the dollars to the rest of the world, and the world would actually absorb it because it also needs those dollars to buy its energy. But what happens when you have a balloon that keeps on expanding and doesn't have an exit valve? Eventually, that balloon would pop.
That was absolutely massive news we jumped on the other day, but two items that should be top headlines in the US today and should also cause every foreign policy hawk and mainstream economist to resign and never be trusted in public office again. Russia's Moscow Stock Exchange officially suspends all trading in US dollars and euros. And again, Saudi Arabia's 50-year-old petrodollar agreement with the US has expired, so Saudi Arabia will now sell oil in multiple currencies instead of exclusively in US dollars. Now let's get back to that Russian stock exchange news. Check this out. Russians fear ruble collapse after US sanctions. People were forming lines at currency exchanges after the announcement of a fresh wave of US sanctions. This triggered the Moscow exchange to announce it was halting trade in dollars and euros. Russians were desperate to exchange rubles, fearing a collapse in the exchange rate. And at this time, several Russian banks were also unavailable to online customers, sparking fears of, well, a potential bank run. You know, Max, maybe remind these people what happens to fiat currencies when they're priced in Bitcoin again.
Okay, here's a $10 bill. This is garbage. This is garbage. Your people in South Africa, you have your rand, right? That's going to zero. That's going to zero. This is going to zero too. Euros are going to zero. The yen's going to zero. The Chinese currency is going to zero. It's all going to zero against Bitcoin. If you don't understand that yet, you're going to be impoverished. You're going to be on the street. You're going to be begging. You're going to be out of business. You're going to be toast.
That's right. There is no second best. And what Trump did, well, he may have just kicked off and escalated the global hash wars. Just how bullish is all this news for Bitcoin's price? It's massive. Now, before we break it down, let's take a minute to recognize our sponsors. the Bitcoin way. Bringing over 25 years of experience in cybersecurity, the Bitcoin way is your IT team in the Bitcoin world. They'll help take you from that why Bitcoin to the how Bitcoin. From setting up your first wallet node all the way up to inheritance planning, accepting Bitcoin payments for your business. They cover all aspects of Bitcoin security and privacy. They even work with their clients to configure routers, devices, and networks for everything in Bitcoin sovereignty and privacy related. They are your go-to source. Now, this recent news has some like Samson Mao eyeing $10 million Bitcoin, and why not? The Bitcoin ETF, that was like our AOL moment. And it's just now dawning on society that Bitcoin has silently become the most powerful political movement in the world. We are the new internet, as David Bailey says here. Spot on. Guys, basically buying Bitcoin now is like buying it back at 4,400 cuck bucks. And check out this clip from SBL yesterday where the head of Orange Pill app gave us some insight into what David Bailey discussed with Trump in private. And according to him, if it was public, we'd be at like 100K tomorrow.
Did any of you guys hear David Bailey? He went in on it was like 11 o'clock last night on West Coast time. He did a Twitter space last night or an X space. And one line that stuck out to me that he said was, guys, if I could share everything from the meeting, if I could just share it, not saying that anything's implemented, but if I could just share what Trump was talking about yesterday, Bitcoin would be at 100K tomorrow. Now,
for sure.
I don't know what that means, but the things that Trump is talking about aren't just like, oh, I'm going to be anti-CBDC. It sounds like it's very, very pro-Bitcoin. Now, that can be kind of scary, right? Because we don't want a bunch of positive regulation around Bitcoin because those can be snares and traps. But I think David Bailey's smart enough to understand that a hands-off approach is probably the best approach forward. So that was a quote from David Bailey. He didn't say what it was, but he said Bitcoin would be 100K tomorrow if I could publicize what our meeting was about.
Now, we know Trump has backed Bitcoin as a defense against foreign adversaries, CBDCs, massively bullish. And not to mention the discussion involving solving the US debt crisis with Bitcoin. Over the target, my friends. But let's talk about another scenario where the orange man could send Bitcoin to the moon and possibly beyond. This would rock the financial world to its core. Picture this. He decides to convert a massive chunk of his wealth, everything from real estate to business ventures, into Bitcoin. And get this, he's not going to keep it quiet. He's shouting his Bitcoin address from the rooftops right before the presidential election. Now let's break down what could happen. Scenario 1. You better believe a worldwide revolution will be incoming if Trump snags the presidency after going all in on Bitcoin. It's going to send shockwaves through the financial universe. Billionaires, hedge funds, sovereign wealth funds. Everyone with deep pockets will scramble to jump on the Bitcoin bandwagon, and the result? Bitcoin prices skyrocketing to heights we've never seen before, like $1 million, $5 million per BTC. We're talking about a seismic shift. And Trump would go down in history as the mastermind behind the most earth-shattering financial maneuver ever, which we all know he would love to take credit for. Scenario 2, a backup plan for Trump. Hold on, even if Trump doesn't clinch the presidency, his Bitcoin move could still be a game changer by anchoring his wealth in Bitcoin. He essentially creates a fortress against political turmoil and government meddling. Something he could definitely use, just as an outsider looking in. And guess what? Other big shots are taking notes. If they see Trump hedging his bets with Bitcoin, they might just follow suit. And that means Bitcoin prices could stabilize at a cool 500K to 2 million per Bitcoin. And that would totally create an entire new global financial landscape. And whether he wins the election or not, that move could go down in history as the biggest deal mankind has ever seen. Now imagine this isn't just a wild fantasy. What if Trump's got a secret pact with the biggest Bitcoin players out there? Names like BlackRock, Fidelity, and others, who are ready to make it rain if he comes out on top in the election. Oh, and if you recall, he has met with them before. It's a mind-boggling scenario. But hey, stranger things have happened. What if we have like some sort of reverse creature from Jekyll Island going on? A greater question, what if all this was orchestrated? And what if the plan was to ape into Bitcoin all along following the '08 financial crisis? But to do so on the low. What if Orange Man is Mr. 100? Even better, what if Orange Man makes Sailor his running mate? Needless to say,
it's going up forever, Laura.
Forever.
That's right, baby. No one is bullish enough. I hope you enjoyed this one. Be sure to like, subscribe, share that sound money gospel. And for all the latest breaking Bitcoin news, be sure to follow us on X. And don't miss the #1 live Bitcoin only news show on YouTube, Simply Bitcoin Live, coming at you Monday through Friday at 12:15 Eastern Standard Time. I'll catch you all tomorrow.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, fuck you.